delivering your new bed, mattress or furniture in time for Christmas. deskelly.ie.
Dry and clear tonight, feeling cool in the east, milder in the west, with lowest temperatures ranging from 2 to 8 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a dedicated call centre.
This is News Talk.
Oh, welcome along. Monday evening, Eddie O'Sullivan and Rory O'Connor analyse a very nice start to the European season for the Irish provinces. Less so for poor old Freddie Burns. We'll come to that. Kenny Cunningham and Dan McDonnell talk all things Ireland. And James Richardson on the show pays tribute to Peter Brackley, who sadly passed away aged 67. 53106 is the text number. We are at Off the Ball on Twitter. You're very welcome. Richie is here. How are you now? Dan McDonnell is here.
Hi, Joe.
Oh, Kenny's here. You're back again. Have you left all day?
You're a happy man, Joe. You're a happy man.
I turn it on when the red light goes on, Kenny. You know that.
Well, you certainly turned it on at the awards ceremony the other night.
Listen.
What's the magic number? Let me tell you. What's the 4 out of 5? What are we talking? 6 out of 7?
Kenny,
what's the magic number?
None of that stuff matters today. For Joe came back into the office beaming at who he met in the lift later on.
Oh, yeah.
All that paled into insignificance once he met Mike Murphy.
Oh, career high today.
From the RTA.
Career high, Mike Murphy.
That topped off the evening, did it?
Mike Murphy's a legend.
But I tell you what, Mike Murphy would have been proud. They played me the videotape today, Joe's reaction when he won the award. And he just pitched it absolutely odds on. You were odds on for that award, weren't you? Was the odds on, Rich? Was the odds on for that award?
I'd rather not.
So you must have given it some thought in terms of that initial reaction when your name was read out. He struck it perfectly. That little hint of surprise, but he didn't celebrate too much, man. A bit of humility, a bit of modesty.
Wouldn't be in his nature. Wouldn't be in his nature.
And this kind of what me again? Oh please, no, I can't. It was absolutely.
Oh yeah.
They should roll out the Guild Actors Union, everything, the Guild Hall. It was absolutely brilliant. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Jeez Louise.
If that was the equivalent of the Ballon d'Or,
yeah.
You and Jem must be. You had the Ronaldo and the Messi at those awards. You've literally been passing that trophy to each other for the past, 6, 7 years?
It's been about that, yeah.
What's Des? Griezmann?
Nathan Modric. Nathan's the Modric, is he? Token gesture every so often. To be fair to Jay, it seemed a genuine kind of.
Yeah. Well, we were sitting beside each other all evening, so we were chatting away. And then...
You don't get to give a speech, though, do you?
No.
Just I won't go on, but. That's got to be the next.
A radio awards night speech would be an absolute disaster.
I'd love to hear you give a speech.
Well, I would thank you first of all. There's one person.
He's done a commitment style in the bath a few times, you know.
Would you kind of?
Oh, I would thank you.
Would you deflect it into where it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ah, right. Yeah.
They can't let radio people make speeches. We'll be there all night.
You've got to get a couple of minutes. Sure, that's not right, is it?
With the amount of drink in that room as well. Not a good idea.
Even the awards generally. Can you imagine 900 people who work in radio in this confined space? The amount of talking. No one's listening, just talking.
Where is the trophy? Where is it anyway? Is it?
It's at home.
Oh, it's not like the.
No, well, it looks a bit like that.
Travelling around the city. You're at.
It looks a bit like that now.
That's why it's positioned over your right shoulder then.
Anyhow, congratulations, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
You were very good, thank you. Have you left the building all day today?
I've been around town. It's true. I have left the building.
You did OTBAM. How did that go?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Me and the Silver Fox. Yeah. Stephen Hunt,
yeah. It was a frank exchange of views. You share different views about aspects of Saturday.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me. Like, I don't recall too much of it, to be honest with you. But those type of just conversations, aren't they? I have those conversations every hour of the day with people I bump into. So
you left the studio. What did you do then?
Had to meet a friend of mine, which I did, around the corner in the Metro.
Back to the Metro.
Breakfast Bap, he knows all about that. Flurry back.
I saw someone in a St. Pat's jersey walking into the back of the Metro around 9 o'clock this morning.
Is that right? Is that your link? Is that your little link?
Could have done better there, Joe.
Come on, Joe.
That was clunky.
Anyhow, that was award-winning.
Anyhow, breakfast Bap, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And I've been ducking and diving around town.
Ducking and diving.
Oh, yeah, as you do.
Suitably shifty.
I'm surprised I haven't actually bumped into Dan, because every day I've been over in Dublin this week.
Every day.
Yeah. Bumped into each other. It's very,
Where did you bump into each other?
Well, I don't know, shall I say?
It doesn't have, no, you don't have to go in now. You don't have to get in
No, shush.
I was leaving a football stadium somewhere.
In the broader Inchicore area?
I don't know. I don't know where it was.
There's only one game of football in Dublin Friday night, and it was down in Richmond Park.
I hopped onto
That's
a
where
bus
I was.
And Kenny was just there.
Just happened to be leaving, trying to sneak out incognito.
Was he at the game? I mean, possibly he was at the game. Possibly at the game. He wasn't like sitting up in the director's box, sort of eyeing out like other people would. He was more out the side door, onto the bus.
Anyway, I don't labour it. Next rendezvous, naturally
outside the Aviva Saturday.
Hands down lane.
Well, we'll get on to that later. Let's not.
There wasn't much to.
Let's not sully our evening.
It wasn't a cheerful talk really at that discussion.
No, let's not sully our evening by talking about that just yet, Kenny. There's plenty of time. And so, did you enjoy your ducking and diving around town? Dublin, you're a big fan of Dublin.
I did. I tell you where I went today. I'll be honest with you. Okay. I went into the Lighthouse Cinema.
Yeah.
For the first time. Yeah. I mentioned it to you. I went to see an Irish film. I can't remember the name. I said it to you, didn't I? About the homeless.
Rosie, is it?
Rosie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
I saw a trailer for it. It looks very good.
Yeah, it is very good. I read about it a couple of weeks ago in a kind of TV something, but I know I didn't have a chance to see it in London, so just don't mention this morning about the cinema. It just clicked to me. I'll have a look and see if there's a showing of that film today. So I went down there and made another 2 individuals were in there in the cinema house. It was excellent.
Good.
Yeah.
That was all that was in the cinema. There was just 3 people there.
3 of us in the cinema, yeah, but I wouldn't say, obviously not that type of film. I wouldn't say it was entertaining, but... Yeah, a little kind of...
Thought-provoking.
Yeah,
it's thought-provoking, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, a few different emotions coming out, but I'm glad I went to see it. Yeah, great performance, the girl, the leading actress.
Sarah Green.
Yeah, amazing, I thought. Absolutely. And really well shot as well. Over 2 days. Only shot over 2 days, the film, but... and it kind of leaves you hanging. Obviously, clearly no happy ending, but that's not the point, obviously. But, and even in educational terms, kind of very good.
Is homelessness a big talking point over in the UK? It's so on the agenda here. It's such a big issue here.
Yeah, it is. Maybe not so much homeless families. The topic of homelessness, because like similar to over in London, people on the streets, and there's a lot of talk about the different reasons for that. Issues there in terms of addiction, mental health, and all those type of things. But tends to focus on the individual. Like, what's the individual's problem where he's coming, as opposed to, an actual homeless family. Yeah. That's not something which gets too much talked about, probably more so over here.
It's not seen as a housing issue, it's seen as a social problem.
Yeah. And there was a couple of articles written in the papers, because it's been in my head for read a couple of articles in the papers over here, because I try and get the papers and bring them home and kind of read through them. I enjoy reading the Irish papers, and I kind of made aware of a few articles that I've read, like a couple of hundreds. They gave the figure of actually homeless families, and I thought, bloody hell. I think there was some article about a family staying in a police station on a couple of evenings, had to go to the police station and see it. And that was kind of, whoa, that's interesting. What's going on there? So, just kind of led on a little bit from that. Then became aware of the film and thought, I'll have a look at that. And it was excellent. Yeah, brilliant.
Well, thank you for popping back in. We'll kick off the news round. The news round is brought to you this evening with Screwfix.ie, champion in the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. And Richie, you're starting with injury news ahead of the match tomorrow?
Yeah, Republic of Ireland midfielder Callum O'Dowd ruled out of tomorrow night's Nations League meeting with Wales at the Aviva. The Bristol City man complained of feeling dizzy following a collision during Saturday's goalless draw with Denmark. Wales themselves have been deprived of another key player for tomorrow night's game, with Aaron Ramsey departing the squad due to family reasons. Ryan Giggs was already factoring without the injured Gareth Bale for tomorrow night's game. Martin O'Neill was today, though, reluctant to take any pleasure from those Welsh absentees. And with O'Dowd now missing, O'Neill will be forced into altering a midfield that already contained a natural fullback on Saturday night. And also, having played James McLean as a left wing back in that game, O'Neill happened to shoot down suggestions he was playing people out of position merely to suit his system.
James McLean has played left wing back for us on a number of occasions. In fact, the truth is here. If you want to ask Stephen Ward has done exceptionally well for us, but a lot to do with James McLean playing in front of him and getting back to cover. So I totally disagree with you. James McLean is a left-sided player who has played left wing back. He's played left wing back for both country, for us, and club. He didn't. The only player that we had playing in a position that he doesn't normally play in, Cyrus Christie, who happened to end up being man of the match.
Do you agree with this point on McLean, firstly?
Yeah, I do actually, to be honest. I think James is capable of playing there. You'd probably make the same argument for Robbie Brady. And in this system, I think it's worth having a look at both of them, because if you can get him into the team, and that if you're going to commit to that system of play, because of the quality which they have when they get into the last third of the pitch, Robbie in particular, but James as well, and his energy, his ability to get up and down the pitch, Yeah, I think they are obvious alternatives in that area of the pitch. Now, you could flip around and question maybe in terms of their defensive capabilities. Are they kind of natural defenders when they get pinned back and they have to defend as a natural defender in a kind of an orthodox left back position, which they will do at times? Is that the strongest part of their games? Probably not. You might look at the likes of Enda Stevenson, maybe they got the edge over them in that respect. But no, in terms of the argument James McLean, I wouldn't have had an issue with James starting in that position. To have a look at him now.
I think though McLean has said himself that he maybe doesn't feel wholly comfortable in that position. I think, I don't want to misquote him, but he certainly alluded to the fact that maybe it isn't just come naturally to him. And he has played there a couple of times for Ireland. The problem is I don't think he's played well at any of the times that he has. I think he tried him in Costa Rica, one of the friendlies in the States. It has only been friendlies that we've tried that system until the night just gone. And it hasn't gone well on the occasion. I think one of the other games in the States, maybe it was at Mexico or something, but I'm trying to think where it just hasn't worked. And I think the positioning of McLean is a slight issue for him because he's always going to play. But he's trying to figure out
that will be if he commits himself to this system going forward. It's got to be the best players to complement this system that you have. It can't be the other way around to an extent. Maybe you can make an odd exception, but generally not. So you're making the argument, James McLean. If I look at this system we're playing at the moment, 3-5-2, and you say to me, where does James McLean play in this system? I say left wing, mate. That's it. Nowhere else.
Second striker?
No, I don't shoe him in as a second striker. For me, he's not a natural striker in terms of his understanding of the position. He's great. He'll go compete with headers. He'll run the channels and run himself into the ground, which he will do in any position on the pitch.
So I take your point, but then if you do that, if left wing back is the only place you can go, and if it's not his best position, then potentially you're nullifying the guy who was top scorer in the last campaign.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, he can still get himself into advanced stages of the pitch from that left wing back. Not as easy. It's not as easy if you're playing like an orthodox 4-4-2. You got full back behind you. Your starting position is naturally 10-15 yards higher up the pitch. You're playing left of a 4. When you're a wing back, you're always coming from a slightly deeper position. But you can still get into the box. Right wing back, put the ball in the box. You've got license to go and get in there and still attack the ball and affect the game. You're just coming from a slightly different area.
But I would put it to you,
area.
because we're a team that don't keep possession all that much. You want him a bit higher up so that he's closer to the action.
Yeah, I think so. I think James,
if he's deeper, he's going to need more time to get up the pitch.
Oh, without a doubt. We have got to get the ball into that last third of the pitch a lot more. We're not spending enough time. We're not having enough touches of the ball 30-35 yards from the opposition goal. That's the biggest problem for I can see. To get those type of players, James McLean, Matt Doherty, high up the pitch, putting crosses into the box, getting Shane Long on the end of crosses, Jeff Hendrick arriving, Cam O'Dowd arriving. That's all their strengths. I get excited when I see these players. These are their attributes that they have. So let's tap into them, get the best out of them. But at the moment we're not, because we're not spending near enough time in the opposition last third of the pitch.
We'll talk about this in a bit more depth in about 15 minutes time. Rich, Keith Earls obviously dropped out before kick-off in Exeter, and he's still a concern for the weekend.
He is indeed. The winger pulled out of the weekend draw with Exeter during the warm-up. He was sent today for a scan on a hamstring complaint. Munster's medical team will also keep tabs on Sammy Arnold, who was forced off at Sandy Park with an injury to the throat, while prop John Ryan will have an ankle complaint assessed this week. And it seems Duncan Williams will continue at scrum half, with Van Graan admitting no further update on the fitness of either Conor Murray and Albie Mathewson. The latter will be given every opportunity to make the game at Thomond Park. The Munster head coach was asked today how Gloucester will differ from their fellow Premiership side Exeter.
Yeah, I think the kicking game is a bit different. I think the way they set up their attack is a bit different, but they play off 9 and off 10, and like I said, Cipriani's distribution skills are very good, and Billy 12 Trees is a player that I really rate. I think their back three are a big threat on attack, so it's the same. I think Morgan and 8 played very well yesterday, and we know what Gigi can do. Is offloading, and I've worked with Franco Maria at the Sharks as well. Look, they've got threats all over the park, so like I said, this will be a huge battle on Saturday.
Leinster, meanwhile?
Yeah, they've concerns over a trio of players ahead of Sunday's trip to Toulouse. Rob Kearney will be assessed this week. He has a thigh injury. A calf problem in the warm-up saw Dan Levy replaced by Rhys Ruddock on Friday night, and the former will be monitored this week, while Cian Healy was taken off with a knee problem at half-time in that trouncing of Wasps. After missing the game at the RDS, Jameson Gibson Park, though, is back training with the full squad. Freddie Burns' showboating, of course, helped Toulouse to a 2-point victory over Bath at the Rec yesterday, and with 4 wins from their opening 7 top 14 games, Devin Toner is experienced enough to know that Toulouse will be tricky.
I suppose these things are kind of cyclical, do you know what I mean? So they're on their way back up again. Like they've been better this year than they have been over the last couple of years combined, to be honest. So to us, it's going to be a big test over there. They're a team that I haven't played against. I think I was on the bench against them maybe once, but we didn't get on. So I'm looking forward to hopefully get a chance to run out against them. So to us, it's just another chance to try and nail another performance and trying to get a win away in France, which is always tough to do.
Leinster amazing, obviously, on Friday. We'll talk to Eddie O'Sullivan and Rory O'Connor. Richie mentioned Freddie Burns and his showboating. Did you see that? Did you see what happened?
Oh, yeah.
The Bath player. The kiss, the tap of the badge, just taking his time. And
the overriding emotion was I did really feel for the fella.
Did you? I thought you'd be looking at him saying you deserve every bit of it.
No, on a human level, no. I didn't. I thought he must be feeling how bad he must be feeling that particular moment when he realised what he'd actually done, the kind of significance kind of hit home. What I was interested in, when Alan mentioned this morning, which I wasn't aware of, is that his manager hiked him straight away.
Straight off. Now we don't know, was it punishment substitution or was the sense was, well, his head's fried?
I don't think it really matters, because I still think it's a absolute humiliation for the player. And it'd be the last thing I'd do as a manager, even if I felt, God, his head's gone a little bit. There's only a couple of minutes left. Wasn't if there's 25 minutes left, Joe, in the game. It's still a big chunk of the game. I'd still think, right, long term, the best thing to do, I've got to just let him get through this, almost get lost in the crowd a little bit with the players and make his way back into the dressing room. To hike him off, I think, would have made a worse situation, far worse.
Interesting.
For the player.
To complicate your decision making further, he's the place kicker and you're 2 points down.
Right. Oh, I did well. So from a tactical point of view, you're making that. I'm saying purely on a psychological.
But he might think, well, this lad's head's gone, and he may have to take a kick, and he's just missed one. He missed one from 18 metres, about 2 minutes before his try botching. So
it's interesting, but I'd still say, I'd still say that is devastating. And even in terms of the relationship between a manager and player, for me, not easy to get over that. It's hard to get away from. You've absolutely hung me out there. Even if he offers a reason, well, no, I didn't. Very hard to get over that in a short period of time.
People enjoyed you having a pop at me at the start of the show. It's fair to say.
Pop? It wasn't a pop. Seriously,
that was praise.
I was praise. In fact,
June says, I'm laughing out loud walking around Waterford with my headphones, listening to Kenny slagging off at Malloy Joe.
No way, Joe.
Radio. Tom Sheeran, Kenny Cunningham, simply brilliant. Best start to a show in a long time. Hashtag King Kenny.
Your followers are winding you up, not me. It's the opposite way around. In fact, I do actually think you should be elevated ever so slightly above, particularly when Ger and Nathan are in the room, and even Rich. Now, fair play, Rich. Got to give this to you. You know the podium. You know the podium. Gold, silver, and bronze.
Never has a fair play lacked any meaning.
Just ever so slightly. I think it's warranted. I think it's warranted.
We're just talking a few inches.
He's actually got a little cushion on his chair there.
Just a cushion. Oh yeah, that's a great idea, Kenny. We'll bring that to the board meeting.
Joe, you've earned it.
You're damn right. I have, Kenny. I have.
Cheating the beast.
You don't have to put up with this for the rest of the week. We do.
Oh dear. Kenny is gold. Get him on permanently. I had to extend my leave hour to watch this. Hashtag good man Kenny. Your leave hour. And somebody says, Peter Brackley and Ray Wilkins on Channel 4 lads, what a duo. Yeah, we'll have James Richardson on. We have a clip here of Peter Brackley in his heyday doing his thing. Stick in your headphones because you always forget to do that.
Right, got it. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Really has been a feature of Juve's play this season, the commitment that they've shown. As underlined here again by Ravanelli. Now Baggio. Ravanelli on to Vialli here. Looking to extend Baresi. Good shot. And Rossi down with a save. Really has been a fabulous partnership between the two this season, Vialli and Ravanelli. 37 goals between them in all competitions. Vialli looking here for his 13th in Serie A. This is Galli. On for Ravanelli. Here's Vialli. Ravanelli has continued his run. Here is Ravanelli, and it has to be the first goal. And
bringing back memories for you, Kenny.
Has struck for Juventus.
Bringing back memories?
No.
Do you not watch football, I tell you?
Oh, back in the day, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, the names.
No, I'm talking about Peter Brackley, the commentator. He passed away.
Oh, bless.
I
didn't realise.
That's why we've James Richardson on to pay tribute to him later.
Apologies, I didn't realise I wasn't in the loop there. I was waiting. I was listening to the commentary, waiting for a bit of a punch at the end. Oh, that's sad news. Yeah, the voice is very distinctive.
Great voice.
Yeah, it was. And you do miss those. I mean, John Motson is another one to a certain extent. Now, he's obviously been, pushed to the side ever so slightly after main media outlets, but he does a little bit from a radio station in London. You pick up now and again. Yeah. So you don't hear as much of him, but when he comes on, even just in general, bang, straight away.
I just wasn't a fan of Motson.
Same.
I just didn't quite ever.
I like for Barry Davies, man.
Oh, Barry Davies all day long.
Yeah.
All day long.
I know what you mean, but I'm just talking just in terms of straight away recognition. Yeah.
Brackley's got one of those voices, though, that people were pointing out last night. He's forever indelibly linked to a couple of different strands for people. Like people who watched Italian football on Channel 4 back in the day, Peter Brackley's voice is the one that sticks in their head. James Richardson presenting, obviously, as well. Yeah. But also people who played Pro Evolution, and there'll be people onto here as well saying the same thing. I never did. But Brackley's voice is apparently the commentator on Pro Evo for years. Yeah. So if anybody who played Pro Evo, they just think of Brackley's voice.
Well, the lads in the meeting room, Football Italia, might as well be.
They're all 12.
I mean,
that generation is sort of that generation.
I was about to say it might as well be a different century, which of course it was.
Yeah.
But Pro Evo, straight away, they were all like, "Oh yeah, Brackley,
Yeah, so he was the commentator on it. But look, he also there's a clip that did the rounds last night too, after his sad passing. He was a great impersonator. He did a full show of Saint and Greavesy as Jimmy Greaves with the puppet from Spit and Image.
Right.
So Greavesy was sick that week, and Brackley spent the whole show under the desk making the entire crew, because there was a crew there, but obviously you never hear them, you never hear the audience. He made the entire crew piss themselves during the course of the whole show.
I was reading today, he's a brilliant impressionist, apparently, So, I mean, and fantastic commentator. The thing, I'll ask James Richardson later on, but when the Football Italia stopped, I mean, he did a bit more with ITV, did a World Cup and a bit of Champions League, and then ITV lost the rights to most of their football around 2002. And Brackley would have been about 50 then, but kind of disappeared.
Brackley was always like the third or fourth, like ITV had a clutch of commentators, because it was going back through 86 and 90 stuff earlier. They had, like, Clive Tilsey would have been like their third or fourth after Brian Moore.
Brian Moore, of course,
John Helm would have been in there as well. They had a bunch, and even Martin Tyler was on their roster for a while too.
Right.
So they just had this wealth of riches in terms of great commentators.
You mentioned Clive, Robbie and Tullamore, Clive Tilsley over Motson, any day lads, Hollywood stuff. I'm a big Clive fan, I must say. Who's your favourite football commentator, Kenny?
Favourite football commentator? That's a tough one, it really is.
What names are jumping into your head? None.
The ones that you've mentioned. I think more, when I think, funny enough, what you were talking about, I don't necessarily think football. For me, when you were talking about there, what jumped into my mind was Richie Benno.
Benno was superb.
Funny enough, yeah. And I'm no cricket fan. But when I was in school here, during the summer, I always used to watch the Ashes or cricket in England for some reason. I was always watching that religiously. Never played cricket, I never had any real interest. But I was playing I played cricket in the backyard and we'd put a few things up and we'd throw it. Yeah, but Richie Benno for me had that. Oh,
he had a warmth to him, Benno.
Yeah. I loved his voice as well, where it kind of drew me in.
Right.
So if anybody, any kind of sport, Richie Benno was always one. Like I said, that's the word popped in my head when you were talking.
You like your golf. You like Peter Allis, I'd say.
Yeah, I do. But you know who I like? Who's the lad on Sky?
Ewan Murray.
Ewan Murray is brilliant, I think, as well. A different type of person. Alice, for the reasons that you're thinking, absolutely. But Ewan Murray, for me, is as good as there is at the moment. I think he's absolutely brilliant in terms of information that he gives you. Not in relation to the golf. He'll go anywhere. He'll dive anywhere, like into the town where the golf tournament is. He'll give you a little story, a little bit of history. And in terms of how he pitches things, not overly critical of players, the observations that he makes, lets the thing break. Doesn't come in. Don't hear too much of him. You know more than me in terms of the skill of commentating. For me, I don't see much better than him in his individual sport.
So I'm asking you, you're about to score the winning penalty kick in the World Cup final. This moment will be immortalised. Who do you want commentating on it?
Richie Benno.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah, Richie Benno.
Okay.
I nearly got there in Japan, wasn't it? Obviously, in the game against Spain, the penalty one, and I don't know how many I was, one or two away. It was only practically me and Duffers. Remember, it was me and Duffers in the centre circle, literally just shaking. Both of us.
How many did it go to?
Was it 6? Did it go to?
No, it didn't go to Sunday, I don't think, did it? Did it go to the 5? I think it was at the 5.
I got to the 5, but after the 5, there wasn't too many more stepping forward after that. And I remember me being a little more senior, you think, pressure, Duffers, boy wonder. He's feeling he's going to be asked next.
Yeah.
So
and how would you have coped? Had you taken penalties?
No, I'd taken one penalty in club football and missed. But missed spectacularly, that's all I'd say.
Okay.
It wasn't your bog standard.
It was a good miss.
It's a couple of feet to the keeper. Yeah, it was on the side of the crossbar post.
So honestly, how do you think you would have coped with that pressure of that walk and the whole country and the whole world watching?
Well, I wouldn't have coped too well. Otherwise, I would have actually put my hand up and said, I'll take a penalty. So the simple answer is, I wouldn't have coped very well.
Do you remember standing in the circle watching it and hoping, whatever happens, I don't have to take one?
No, maybe the subconsciously there was a little bit of that in the back. I don't think that was the overriding emotion, in all honesty.
You're hoping Ireland win, ultimately.
Yeah, of course I am, but there's always a little bit of that. I think the back here, next penalty, oh, this is close, it could go, who's going to be it could be me and all, but you're obviously going to keep those things in check and push.
Did the players volunteer or were they picked? Jeez, the 5. Yeah.
You always practice penalties in, so I think Mick would have said to the lad, would have picked the lad. I think the lads pretty much knew. I think there wasn't too many surprises who went up to take a penalty.
No. And do you know what side you would have put it? Do you know what you would have done with it? Or would you have had to decide on the spot?
I would have put it the same side where I missed my only penalty in club football to the keeper's left. Problem I had, I wasn't technically a good striker of the ball. I wouldn't go as far as say I couldn't kick a ball, but in terms of being a naturally good striker of the ball, particularly through my laces, I wasn't. I went through schoolboy football in Dublin without actually hitting the ball through my laces. I spent up until, I say, 18 years of age in Dublin, passing the ball inside my foot.
Short passes.
That seems an odd thing to say. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I literally had to develop the technique of actually striking the ball. I was never particularly... By the end of my career, I was better fizzing about my left foot than I was with me right.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember you really...
No.
A lot of left
not that
footers.
you'd remember it, but I just felt the need. I had to try and get myself up to an acceptable level in terms of the technique of striking a ball. I got as good as I could, but it was never any more than bang average.
Do you remember you using your left foot a lot for 30-yarders, which is rare? I mean, if you could avoid it as a player, which you generally could, you wouldn't hit a 30-yarder with your
I played left of it. When I played for Laura, most of my games were left of the centre.
Yeah.
And I was predominantly right-footed, so I was reasonably comfortable on there. Not that I could actually change play or anything like that, because if I fell on my left side, I felt as if I could get a little bit of distance. And a few of the lads would have had a preference, like Sabrini, maybe Dunny. Where do you want to? They probably have a preference to play right. So I was like, well, that's all right. I'll play. It doesn't bother me. I'll play on the left for that reason. But yeah, so when people say just put your foot through it and fizz a penalty, for me that wasn't an option. I couldn't. So it was the literal back to the old home farm Moby Road days, inside of the right foot, safety Sam, inside that kind of...
that's a better technique than laces for a penalty. You don't want to be laces penalty.
For me, it's the actual... Actually, if you're going to talk about... Like, I won't talk too long on this. Not that I thought about it a huge amount. But people talk about what's the perfect penalty.
8 minutes later.
People talk about what's the perfect penalty, technically. Whoever hits the back of the net. So forget about that argument. Actually, from a technical point of view, the best penalty for me is if you just, obviously we're on radio here, I know, if you approach the ball with your right foot, take it with the inside of your right foot and actually send it outside of the post, and the natural curl brings it in, ideally halfway or a little bit higher up. For me, that's always the best penalty. I'm sure like maybe scientists, physicians could probably prove it in terms of the trajectory of the ball. Far better than the one that's fizzed in a straight line into the corner, and for me better that one that takes in the opposite approach, a left forward opposite approach, actually bends into out. I'm sure that would give scientists to tell you that would give the keeper more of a chance of intercepting the angle. But the one that started outside and comes back inside, for me, from a technical point of view, stroke scientific, let's leave it at that. Richard's looking at Richard's like, where are you going with this? For me, that's the perfect. That's the one I attempted to take.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. Dave O'Leary, and even a bit more.
You would have had a lot of time to think about this on the way up for the penalty. Can you imagine Kenny? He's not taking the penalty. He's just thinking about the scientific.
Would you have explained this to Duffer when you were deciding who's going to take it?
Like when you took the penalty, would you have handed your markings and how you got there to the referee?
Oh my God.
I'll tell you why that was a good penalty.
I certainly wouldn't have preached the Duffers or any of those lads in terms of how to strike a ball, but yeah, it's just a little bit of thought.
Statistically, the best penalty, the most successful types, is straight down the middle high. Statistically.
That's probably because more people probably attempt that.
You wanted to keep it short,
because more people, exactly. Probably more people attempt that. I would have thought that's factored in.
Fewer. It goes in fewer there.
It goes in fewer.
No, it goes in more, but it's attempted less times. Most players go for a corner either way. Hitting it down the middle is risky because you can look very foolish.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's from a scientific point of view, it's the most effective way to go. As long as you can see that point, we'll move on.
I agree with your point. Your point is right.
Thank you.
I'm just saying statistically.
I'm not surprised you've said that, because you know the lads, it's been mentioned before. You know, I met a few teammates of Joe in a drinking establishment in Dublin.
Oh, yeah.
And they did say from a technical point of view, Joe was up there. Set piece delivery. No, this is not a joke. They said from a set piece point of view, this lad was as good as anything. So I.
Stop it, you're just buttering me
Where
up.
did he fall down? I respect that comment he just made. I respect that comment he just made.
Oh dear. And the best part, Richie, is we've no time left for any of your brilliantly crafted stories. But will you give us the English team?
Yeah, England start with Jordan Pickford, Kieran Trippier, Harry Maguire, Joe Gomez and Ben Chilwell. Eric Dyer, Ross Barkley and Harry Winks are in midfield. Raheem Sterling, Marcus Rashford and Harry Kane. This for the Nations League meeting with Spain at a rain-soaked even Estadio Benito Villamarin. Our kickoff is at 7:45.
And sorry, one that just caught my eye is Anthony Toll's son.
Yeah, he's off away down under, is Tohill the younger. He's following in his father's footsteps by heading for the AFL. Anton Tohill has signed a 2-year rookie deal with Melbourne side Collingwood. The younger Tohill played with Derry's under-20 footballers this year. Anthony Tohill himself had a brief spell with Melbourne Demons back in the early 90s before going on to win the All-Ireland in 93.
Cheers, great stuff. That's our news round done. Kenny is going to stay with us until 8 o'clock. We're going to talk football, so any texts or tweets, get them in now.
Off the Ball on Newstalk.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000